So today, welcome to the EMS Handoff short outtake. We're going to talk about a tough topic for many individuals. Yesterday, while I walked in the garden, I had a short revelation while simply looking at butterflies. Lots of different cultures look to butterflies with deep reverence and use it as a symbol for many different life concepts. The butterflies are a representation of resurrection, charge, renewal, hope, endurance, courage, all to embrace the transformation to make life better. Today is June 11th. So we look back to June 11th, 1985, with the death of Karen Ann Quinlan. Karen Ann was an American woman who became an important figure in the life and history of the right to die controversy in the United States. When she was 21, she became unconscious after she consumed Valium along with alcohol while on a crash diet and lapsed into a coma. All this was followed by a persistent vegetative state. After doctors, under the threat from prosecutors, refused the request for parents, Joseph and Julia Quinlan, to disconnect her from the ventilator, which the parents believed constituted extraordinary means of prolonging her life, her parents filed suit to disconnect her from the ventilator. Her case continues to raise important questions in moral theology, bioethics, euthanasia, legal guardianship, and civil rights. Her case has affected the practice of medicine and law around the world. A significant outcome of her case was the development of formal ethics committees in hospitals, nursing homes, and hospices. She was born in March 29, 1954, and later adopted by Joseph and Julia Quinlan. A few days after moving into her new house on April 15, 1975, she attended a friend's birthday party at a local bar. Then, following that, she reportedly drank several gin and tonics and took Valium. Shortly afterwards, she felt faint, was quickly taken home and put to bed. When friends checked on her about 15 minutes later, they found her unresponsive, not breathing. An ambulance was called and mouth-to-mouth resuscitation was attempted. Eventually, some color returned to her pallid skin, but she'd never regained consciousness. She was admitted in a coma to a Newton Memorial Hospital in Newton, New Jersey. She remained there for 9 days in an unresponsive condition before she was transferred to St. Clair's Hospital, which was a much larger facility in Denville. Quinlan weighed 115 pounds when admitted to the hospital. She had suffered irreversible brain damage, and she had experienced an extended period of respiratory failure, lasting no more than 15 to 20 minutes, but it was too late. No precise cause of her respiratory failure has ever been given, but it's assumed to be a combination of the alcohol and the benzodiazepines. Her brain was damaged to the extent that she entered a persistent vegetative state. Her eyes were disconjugate. Her EEG showed only abnormal slow wave activity. And over the next few months, she remained in the hospital and her condition gradually deteriorated. This really took a toll on her parents. And as she laid there in that vegetative state, they continued to beg prosecutors to allow them to disconnect the ventilator. While they believed this constituted extraordinary measures, it caused them great pain and strife. They continued for many months trying to get this accomplished, only to continue remembering what they had once hoped when she moved and when she did other things.
Don't make too much out of this, for your own sake, Mr. Quinlan.
She squeezed my hand. I felt.
All right. Let's say she did. It could have been anything. An involuntary muscle spasm in her hand or yours. Perhaps a reaction to the respirator forcing air into her lungs. It could have been your imagination. Maybe you wanted her to squeeze your hand so badly.
Yeah, and maybe she's getting better. Maybe she's getting stronger.
What we have to remember is the life of a butterfly. Butterflies emerge initially as caterpillars. Then they go through an entire metamorphosis. And this butterfly reminds me of that, as well as the sunflower reminds me of what we should do and continually turn and face the sun. Butterflies represent lots of things to various people. And it reminds me of our right to live and our right to die, because we can continually change as we go through life. Sometimes we take extraordinary measures to keep things in our life because we want them there. Butterflies are beautiful, but the butterfly also only has a short time to live. So we must remember that the butterflies in our lives sometimes have things that we can't control, and individuals have a right to die. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about this week, which is a very difficult discussion, because grief is something that nobody wants to face. To everything, there's a season, a time for every purpose, a time to be born, and a time to die. It's a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal. There's a time to break down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh. There's a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather those stones, time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to count it as lost, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to mend. There's a time to be silent and a time to speak. And when those who suffer cannot speak, we must speak and work for them, because sometimes that is the right thing to do. As for us mortal humans, God tests us so that we may see for ourselves that we are but animals. For the fate of both men and animals are the same. As one dies, so dies the other. We all have the same breath. Man has no advantage over the animals, since everything is futile. All go to one place. All come from the dust, and all return to the dust. We are therefore committed back to the ground, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. All of this in sure hope of the resurrection to eternal life, just as the butterfly reemerges through its metamorphosis and sleeping slumber.